because the Penguins have been linked to a very, very impressive center that could be up for grabs over the next couple of weeks, and that is Marco Rossi of the Minnesota Wild, currently a restricted free agent that is 23 years old. When you're looking at a kid like Marco Rossi, not only does he bring two-time 20-goal scorer pedigree, but he also finished with 60 points last season in his age 23 year, and he's not half bad at the 200-foot game. So you look at Marco Rossi, a guy who right now it doesn't seem like he's going to head back to the Minnesota Wild. It feels like the contract might be the biggest dispute between Bill Guerin and Rossi's camp. If you're the Penguins, you look around. According to James Murphy, of RG.org, it's the Sabres, the Kraken, the Blackhawks who also reportedly have interest. What are your thoughts on the Penguins' reported interest in Marco Rossi?
That's a big name to attach yourself to.
Yeah.
I'm into it. It is part of that sort of, hey, we're looking for cast-offs from teams that Kyle Dubas has been preaching. We're looking for the cast-offs, but also the underappreciated players. And this fits the mold of what Kyle Dubas has been looking for, plus, right? It feels like the upper level. The way Kyle Dubas was grabbing players before, I think we would all think, yeah, those are solid additions. They're solid little helpers. They're solid surrounding pieces. Whereas Marco Rossi feels more of an A level than what the rest of them have been. That's a big piece and a big fish to attach yourself to, and I'm into it a lot. The Penguins need that sort of young boost. Yeah, he's not prospect age, but again, he's played so little that he feels like almost a prospect still. And this whole trade rumor thing around him's been going on since last season, so it's unfortunate that he had to play through a whole year of that almost.
But he put out a career year, which makes it all that more impressive.
Helps him a lot too. Helps his camp.
Yeah.
I'm into it. I'm into this one as well. I'm into the Penguins wanting to be in on a player like this. Anytime you hear a name that is possibly available, for most of them, I would hope to hear the Penguins that are involved or interested in them, just because of how much change that Kyle Dubas is trying to bring.
Mm-hmm.
And Marco Rossi is another perfect example of that. He's young, he has the skill, and has a ton of room to even add to a 60-point season.
I think Marco Rossi is exactly what is needed for the Penguins. The problem with this is there are other teams that are going to be interested, and the Minnesota Wild are going to try as much as they can to drive the price up for Marco Rossi. Now, we did hear the Philadelphia Flyers name as a reported team that was interested, but according to Anthony DeMarco of Daily Faceoff, the Minnesota Wild wanted a first-round pick or standout forward Tyson Forrester, and that was just too rich for the blood of the Philadelphia Flyers. Not only that, but the contract demands were high as well. When I look at Marco Rossi, I think he's a perfect fit in Pittsburgh. And honestly, the Penguins are currently in a position to be able to do that. If the acquisition cost is a first-round pick or a top prospect, guess what? The Penguins are going to have 2 first-round picks either this year or next year. So you know that Rangers pick? It is all yours for Marco Rossi, because the Flyers' first-round pick that they were interested in was a later first. You could give them the Rangers first and it'd be 13 this year, and I'd be A-okay with that for Marco Rossi, because at the end of the day, if you say, well, you traded away a first-round pick, we want to have as many picks, we want to get younger. He's 23 years old, and if you walk away from the draft at the end of this month and you say, what did you get for the 2 firsts, hypothetically, that you had on June 1st, and you say, oh, we got Marco Rossi and Jake O'Brien. We got Marco Rossi and Kashawn Akeson. We got Marco Rossi and Victor Eklund. I think everybody would be ecstatic, because that first rounder that you picked at 11th overall is a piece for the future, a young player that you can now develop and have ready here in the next couple of years, and your second line center. What is the hardest part of aging superstars? Replacing them. I'm not saying Marco Rossi is the next Evgeni Malkin, but on the depth chart, he could be. He is a solid second line center. The Penguins need a replacement at second-line center for Evgeni Malkin when he is done. Honestly, they might need a second-line center replacement for Evgeni Malkin right now. You bring in Rossi, plant him at second-line center, play Evgeni Malkin his final season the entire time next to Crosby and Rust. Who would be upset with that? I don't think anybody would. Now, if his legs start to fall off, then you can drop him with Rossi and let him kind of allow Rossi to be that 200-foot facilitator and let Malkin go off on the wing. I think that this is a move that, while the Penguins might not go for the fences and swing for the fences this offseason, this is a move that serves two masters. It serves the side that wants to bring the best potential team to the ice for Sidney Crosby and Evgeni Malkin and Chris Letang. And it serves the future. It serves the rebuild. Because again, how many times have I said it? The kid is 23 years old. You have no centers in the pipeline because you traded Braden Yeager for Rutger McGroarty. This gives you an option at second line center. I just don't think that there is a downside to this unless the price becomes ridiculous. Not the payment for the contract, the payment for the trade. And that's what I'm looking at. The Sabres, the Kraken, and the Blackhawks, and hoping that they just fall out of the race and the Penguins can say, let's start with the Rangers first because we have so many draft picks. And if we can walk away with Marco Rossi for one of our firsts and still have one this year, one next year, I think you'd say that's A-okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not worried about a contract with Marco Rossi.
No, the Penguins have over $20 million in cap space right now.
That and the salary cap is going up
drastically.
So the cap number won't matter. Again, it can't be egregious. He can't be looking for Mitch Marner money. But no. Within reason, a contract for Marco Rossi is nothing to worry about. He's not coming off of a year where he needs a show me deal. Like, he's going to make decent money.
Yeah.
But it's one that you can afford. It's one that the Penguins can definitely get under their cap with all the savings that they have, and especially if, let's say the Penguins are really committed to this, lock them up longer term. Screw it. Yeah. I mean, if that gets the number down too, I mean, again, that is a long commitment. I don't know if Kyle Dubas is into super long commitments at the moment.
For a bona fide second line center that's 23 years old, I think he'd make an exception.
Exactly. And there are points where you look at this player and go, you know what, this might, especially because the longer the term, the lower the number you can get salary wise. So maybe that is even a better payoff. There aren't too many downsides to Marco Rossi in this situation. Again, maybe the trade cost. Screw the trade cost. The Penguins are building for the future, and this is a piece for the future. If you're sacrificing a draft pick, so be it. Let's just be honest with ourselves. The draft pick that the Penguins keep might not even work out. Let's just be blunt. It could be a bust of a draft pick. We don't know.
Yeah.
So the Penguins walk away with Marco Rossi and a bust? Huh. Well, you know what? Guess what? They got Marco Rossi for possibly 8 years.
Your second line center. Yeah.
So, water under the bridge, I guess. There's no downsides here.
Yeah. Now, I feel horrible. I cannot remember where I saw this. It was on Twitter, but somebody floated out there that the ask for Rossi's camp might be 7/7 or 7x7. Perfectly fine with 7x7. For your second line center, Malkin's going to fall off the books at the end of next year, reportedly. Let's put that in air quotes, reportedly. So his $6+ million is coming off the books. You replace that with a second line center making $7 million with the salary cap going up as it is. You're in a better position than you were with Malkin as a second line center at that point. I mean, 40-year-old Malkin, not Malkin in his prime. We all know that's a Hall of Famer, but you don't want to talk bad about him. But no, I think that if the Penguins can shoehorn their way into being the favorites and then being the team that comes away with Marco Rossi, I think that would be very good for not just the present, but the future of the organization. And this is something that, honestly, if you would have asked me a couple years back, I would have been like, yeah, it doesn't make any sense. The Penguins, they don't get that young player. They don't take that big swing like that. They don't give away the assets like that because they can't afford to. They don't have enough. But last year, seeing them trade away Braden Yeager for Rutger McGroarty, that to me opens the door for something like this to become a possibility. Not only that, to make a lot of sense as something that Kyle Dubas would want to do. So we'll have to keep our eyes on this situation because Marco Rossi becoming one of the bigger names to follow throughout the month of June. Another name to follow is JJ Peterka. I think those two are the two names that if you're the Penguins, you're hoping Kyle Dubas is calling day in and day out to see, hey, can we get this guy before it reaches the point where everybody and their mother is going to offer sheet him and the price just gets unbearable?